Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Just really looking forward to this week and our further study of the book of Philippians. Today, you're going to be getting two videos. One is going to be furthering our study of Paul and just talking about chapter 4, and then the second video is actually going to be kind of an extra credit about our word study that I talked about on Friday, considering the word dogs. And so just wanted to clear that up. First of all, I have posted two things in the chat. Number one is an interactive website that gives you specific places on maps that you can click on to learn more about Paul's journeys. And actually that same website, if you scroll down to the bottom, it has like places Jesus walked and different things like that. So I think it's fascinating, and I hope that you enjoy it as well. And then the second thing is I took a screenshot for those that are following along in the book. I took a screenshot of one page out of the book that is basically a timeline of Paul's life. So I hope that that's helpful to you guys as well. Okay, we're just going to dig right in. One thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about, I was really excited to learn about this over the weekend. Some of you guys know I'm kind of a dork when it comes to Bible study in terms of Old Testament and trying to figure out different contexts and cultural things. So I discovered something kind of interesting over the weekend as I was doing my study. It really stuck out to me that Paul said he was from the line of Benjamin. And so I'm thinking, well, God never really put something in there. I believe that God wants us to dig a little bit. Well, why is that important? The fact that he is from the tribe of Benjamin. So many of you guys know Jacob in the Old Testament. If you go back to the book of Genesis, in Genesis 49, we have one of the patriarchs, Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons. And at the end of Jacob's life, he gives a blessing to the sons. Well, one of his sons, there's many interesting and fascinating stories about all of them, but one of his sons' name is Judah, and then his youngest child was named Benjamin. Well, Judah, I don't know if you remember hearing about this, but who is the Lion of Judah? We know that Jesus actually came from Judah's family line. And we also know that King David came from Judah's family line. So just put this in perspective. I'm going to kind of pull it all together at the end, but we have the line of Judah, which is King David, very famous in the Old Testament. And then eventually Jesus himself is from those are his ancestors. And then we have the line of Benjamin. Well, some of you may know, but King Saul, think about that. His name is Saul, just like our Paul Saul. But King Saul, the same one that fought against David, was from the line of Benjamin. And we also know that our Saul, Paul, in the New Testament was from the line of Benjamin. So in the Old Testament, we have this war that happens between David and King Saul. And we know eventually David won, he became king. But it was this war between the line of Judah and the line of Benjamin. And then fast forward to the New Testament, Jesus is at the line of Judah, and he has this really crazy moment with Saul, who's from the line of Benjamin. And so there's this parallel between those two lines. But in the New Testament, we know that, just as in the Old Testament, the line of Judah won against the ancestor of Benjamin. In the New Testament, the Lion of Judah won against this descendant of the tribe of Benjamin. And I also think it's just crazy that his name is Saul. Before he was converted, his name was Saul. And Jesus renamed him and said, your name is now going to be Paul. But I don't think it could be more obvious that God wants us to say, I've heard that name before. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting kind of sidebar to what is happening with Paul. Okay, so we're just going to dig right into chapter 4. The main thing that I got out of chapter 4, the first thing that kind of popped out to me is, who is the true companion? When he's talking about the women not getting along in chapter 4, he says, my true companion, please help these women put their differences and their fight aside. And I've never noticed that before. Who is the true companion? Paul goes from talking in general, like brethren and my fellow workers, to something very personal. He says, my true companion. He's addressing someone specific. Some people believe that this was Luke because of other evidence, but we really don't know. So I thought that was kind of interesting that right in the middle of the letter, Paul goes from a very general letter talking to the entire church to someone very specific that he is entrusting with, hey, dude, will you help these women get along? So I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, we don't know who it was. Some people think Luke. You can do your own research to find out who that is, maybe. But let's talk about these women, Euodia, Syntyche, and there's another name, Clement. We know that Philippi was the first church that Paul founded in Europe. But these women, they were very powerful members of the church there. And I just want to highlight that the scriptures say that they contended alongside Paul in his defense and spreading of the gospel. So we believe that these women actually may have traveled with Paul from town to town, talking about the gospel. We believe that it's possible that they hosted church meetings in their homes. But regardless, what we can gather is that these women were prominent, integral parts of the church in Philippi. And if you ever feel like, well, Christianity doesn't really lift up women, or Christianity doesn't allow women to have much power in the church or anything like that, I want to set your mind at ease that actually for this time period, women were being elevated in the Christian church. They were given more prestige, more honor, more influence in the Christian church than any other situation of that time. The church in Philippi would have been a melting pot. We know that Philippi was a Roman colony, so they would have had the Roman influence and all that comes with that, with the gods that they worshipped and their culture. They would have had a Greek influence, and then of course they would have had the Jewish influence and the religious influences of the day. So Christianity comes in like a wrecking ball into that town, and it would have been considered to be something very kind of crazy and upsetting to that culture. So these women were amazing. I mean, you think about, like, they traveled with Paul probably. They were right there with him in his ministry. And their fight, their division, their disagreement, whatever it was about, was big enough for Paul to say, okay, now I've heard about it in Rome. The rumors of this fight have reached all the way from the Philippian church all the way to Rome. He's heard about it, and it's become a big enough deal that he feels like he needs to address it very specifically and to call them out by name. So we know that whatever it was kind of a big issue, and that Paul was concerned that it would impact the gospel. So I just want to bring that up. What questions did you have when you read the fourth chapter of Philippians? And, what questions did you have? Were there things that you read about that made you want to do more research? Drop a note in the chat and let me know what you think. Just looking forward to this week. This video will be entitled, excuse me, Week 1, Day 6, because I'm a little bit behind my week. I didn't want to confuse anyone that was following along in the book. I wanted those people to be able to continue to follow along, but don't let that confuse you. Even though we're starting a new week, this video will still be entitled Week 1, day 6. So hope you guys have a great day. And again, I'll be posting one more video later on in the day. Just hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.